Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are staying busy with several big issues happening in our country and across the world. Things will only get more chaotic as they brace for a new head of the executive branch later this year. Joining us via Zoom to get us all caught up is the U.S. Senator James Lankford, who represents Oklahoma. Senator, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to speak with us today.
But glad to be able to do it.
Well, tell me, we're going to jump right in here and tell me where Capitol Hill is with the southern border issue.
Yeah, this is still a big challenge for us. We've got a portion of the southern border that clearly the president can do on his own. The president has not enforced the border the way that he could enforce it, and as the authorities already there. People say he should enforce it like President Trump. He could enforce it even like President Obama enforced it, quite frankly, and it would be a much better situation. President Obama had a fraction of the people illegally crossing that President Biden has had. There are authorities he can use, but we also have to change the way we actually define asylum and the way we do our screenings. That's a change in law. So there are actions the president can take. There's got to be actions that Congress has taken. I've been pushing hard to say Congress needs to do its job as well as push the president to be able to do his. In the meantime, neither has done anything about it. And we have another 7,000 people that illegally crossed our border just yesterday. So we've got to get the president to do his. We've got to get Congress to do our job as well. That involves bipartisan work. As you know, we've got to have Republicans and Democrats in the Senate to be able to move it through the Senate, to be able to send it to the House, to be able to get it done. So this is trying to get both sides engaged.
Now, before we go to this next question, my question to you is, and I know a lot of people probably wonder, what exactly can the president do? Are we talking an executive order?
There's actually about 90 executive orders that President Biden did in the first week that he was president that actually changed the way the border was enforced under President Trump. There's also some actions that President Biden has taken to increase the number of people coming, if you can believe that. For instance, he's created 2 new parole programs. One is if you come to a port of entry, just check in advance. You get a work permit the first day that you cross. If you're coming from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, he's created a way to be able to fly into the country to be able to get parole status while you await the rest of all of your hearings. Those 2 things have actually dramatically increased the number of people. He's also not enforced the border the same way. We're not dealing with what's called recalcitrant countries. These are countries like Nicaragua that won't take their people back once they cross illegally, that won't allow their return. So we've not put pressure on the State Department to be able to take those folks back. There are a lot of specific issues that can be done, not just remain in Mexico as everyone talks about, but the parole issues, the recalcitrant country issues, the way that we can actually apply pressure to be able to turn around, or to the most basic of them, that is whoever came across last, have them up for a hearing rather than release them into the country for 10 years to await their hearing, have them up for their hearing right away and turn them around.
Well, now, of course, you put a lot of work into recently trying to get a border security package passed. You were talk about bipartisan, you were all over that, but it changed once former President Trump spoke against it, and it failed. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was frustrating. Obviously, President Trump is running for president. He's got a job to campaign right now. I have a job to do national security right now because I'm an elected official. The people that have crossed the border have shifted of late. We have fewer people from the Western Hemisphere and more folks that are coming from all over the world. Let me hang over just a second while the bells go off here, if you don't mind.
Well, yeah, we can't hear the bell, so I don't know.
You can't. I'm sorry. They're super loud here on this side. I apologize.
Okay, then. So, well, now, of course, it led to them wanting to censure you. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's been frustrating. Obviously, there are some folks in Oklahoma that saw some things on Facebook or on Twitter or other places that described the bill for ways that were actually not true, and that was part of the frustration. I understand President Trump's running for office. He wants to have the primary campaign issue. That's entirely fair for him. I've got to deal with the national security issue because we have so many people that are coming from all over the world. Many of them have criminal records that we know nothing about on that. We've got to be able to engage on that. And for the folks that censure me, I understand they're just frustrated. They want everything to stop, and what they saw online was information not factual. Let me give you, for instance, a lot of people said the bill actually allowed 5,000 people a day to illegally come in the country. That was not true. The very first person that crossed the border, we detained, we screened, and we deported immediately. It was a very high screening process. It was a very rapid turnaround. But by the time you got to 5,000 people, the system's overwhelmed.
Right.
So at that point, we no longer screen. We just detain and deport people immediately. That was the difference at 5,000. So people, though, heard false information that we were doing nothing on the first 5,000. That was completely false. all of those folks were all turned around as well. But by the time it got to 5,000, we got even a greater authority and a faster speed to turn people around.
Of
Again,
course.
people want this issue solved. So do I. That's why I've worked on it so many years. That's why I sat down to do the bipartisan work to find areas where we could get common ground. We didn't get everything we wanted, but the things we got in that negotiated plan would have made a significant difference on the border and would have put incredible pressure on the White House to be able to enforce the border in a way they're not currently doing.